with the gay warning in Florida, things were bad, but Florida's gotten bad too. And DeSantis looks like he's in some not so happy positions here. So let's see. Here's the David Pakman show. And DeSantis is having some problems.
There's some very, very bad news for Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. His approval is collapsing as the anti-woke movement is in a free fall in the United States. So let's back it up. I already told you that anti-woke may be a very silly approach to the 2024 presidential campaign. And we are seeing loss after loss after loss for the anti-woke movement. In the last 10 days...
So he's got a good point there. DeSantis has pushed a lot of these anti-gay bills. Right? It's part of his big feud with Disney. And what's happened? It's tanking him in the polls. It's not working out. Not working out the way they want. And it's gotten even worse. We just wanted to touch that with David Pakman. Here's back to the majority report. Here is Florida Republicans, because now we had that thing before with the immigrants, right, where they passed this draconian immigration bill, which goes into effect July 1st. And a bunch of immigrants have now fled Florida for other states because they're afraid of getting deported, right? Here are Florida politicians in Florida trying to explain and beg these people to stay.
Here it is. Here's the first guy is, this is Rick
Roth.
Roth. Yeah.
This bill is 100% supposed to scare you.
Y la mala noticia es que este proyecto de ley 100% tiene el propósito de darles miedo.
I'm a farmer, and the farmers are mad as hell.
Yo soy un agricultor y los agricultores están bien bravos.
We are losing employees. They're already starting to move to Georgia and other states.
Estamos perdiendo empleados y se están mudando a otros estados como Georgia.
It's urgent that you talk to all your people and convince them that you have resources, state representatives, and other people that can explain the bill to you.
Es suficiente que ustedes hablen con sus personas porque tenemos representantes estatales que pueden explicar.
All right, so here's what's going on. So he's talking about, because he's a farmer too, and a politician. Here's what's happening though. In the bill, all right, let's say I'm a farmer or I own a construction business and I have a bunch of undocumented immigrants that work for me. I have to go on to E-Verify, which is online, verify their documentation before I can allow them to work. If I fail to do that, right, it's $1,000 fine per person, per incident.
So I'm thinking here, now, if you fail to do that, you get all of these fines.
Mm-hmm.
If you had been to some degree relying on undocumented labor, it was probably costing you less money.
Oh, yeah.
And right now I'm going to table whether or not that is fair. We're going to just set that wage situation to the side for a minute. But that was probably saving you as the business owner quite a bit of money compared to what it would cost you to hire documented labor for the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Thousands of dollars a year per person.
So, if somebody is going to be operating on this platform, you would have to stop and consider what this was doing to your wallet, regardless of how you felt about immigrants or not, or any of that. You have to really stop and think as a business owner, wait a minute, my cost of labor, assuming I can even hire those positions in the form of documented labor, assuming I can get them all hired, how much more is that going to cost me?
Right. Well, on top of that fact, even if it costs me more, there are certain things like, okay, I'm a farmer. I need people out there picking the berries or the whatever it is, the fruits, right? Because a lot of that has to be done by hand, especially like orchard work, stuff like that. So oranges, for example, in Florida, is a big deal, right? So I got to have immigrants out there picking oranges. So how many documented American workers can I get to come out and do that for $7.25 an hour? Probably none. Even if I was paying $25 an hour, would I still be able to fill quota?
I mean, you might get a few people because there are always people who are like, I really need some
money, yeah.
money, right? And so I wouldn't say that would be zero, but I think you would struggle to get enough people to do those jobs. And in order to get people doing them, you would have to probably pay them more, and you would still probably get less people to work there.
Right.
So it feels to me like that would be a very dangerous platform, even for a conservative to really want to be utilizing.
So it's a rock and a hard place, because here's what it is. It's DeSantis, like, I'm going to run for president, do my culture war nonsense, which we just saw that little clip of, right? And he's doing that, and so he's going to placate to the base. And who is his base? The Trump base. It's predominantly white people. They don't like immigrants. They don't like gay people. So we're going to do things that harm those communities, right? Or restrict those communities. So I'm going to do these draconian laws and pass them, right? So I look tough on immigration, right? And now that I've done it, all the business owners are going, fuck. They literally stopped and went, fuck. How am I going to get people? Because people are now fleeing the state. And what they're doing right now is they're saying, don't run, right? Talk to your workers, because essentially we're going to do what Arizona and Arkansas did when they passed these kinds of laws years ago. Was they did it. They also realized it would destroy their state economically, right? And what did they do? They just said, okay, we passed the laws, so the base is happy, but now we're just not going to enforce them. We're going to pretend like they're not there. So they don't really enforce any of their immigration laws. They just have them on the books to keep the base happy. And that's what's going on right here. So we'll listen to a little bit more of this, because that's essentially what's going on.
We had the best president in my life in the last 30 years, and I'm still supporting Donald Trump. I love my governor. He's the greatest governor. He's the greatest governor.
The big question would be then, if
Dude, voting for it.
Yeah, why would you maybe just don't vote the bill so you don't have to explain to migrants that they'll be okay. Just trust your boss here in Florida.
Because that's all they got.
Oh man.
So I looked this up. So what Florida's expecting is, if a lot of these immigrants leave, which it looks like they are, and they pass these laws pass, which they're going to, they've already passed, but once they go into effect, Florida is looking at losing a minimum of $18 billion from their economy in 1 year, just this year. $18 billion off the top of their economy.
Wow.
Well, we went through this last time, man. 20% of their workforce are undocumented immigrants. They say 1 in 2 Floridians lives with an undocumented immigrant. I mean, it's insane. Like, shit, like if you bring an undocumented immigrant over the border, it's a felony in Florida now. It's a C felony. You can do time. You look at the minimum 90 days, right? So let's say your boyfriend is an undocumented and you guys go on vacation and then you fly back, you could be charged.
All because my boyfriend didn't have papers.
Maybe it's your husband and he just didn't have papers yet and you guys are still waiting for him. So right now it's dangerous to be in Florida and be undocumented because you never know when they're going to show up and deport you or arrest you just for being there. So, man, so that's DeSantis' campaign is going to crap and the Republicans there are just desperate. Please, please.
It's all just such a sad situation.
I know, it's terrible. And that's the thing is they don't ever appreciate the immigrants until, oh my God, they passed these laws and the immigrants stop working. And then it's, well, where are all the immigrants? Right?
Well, what do you think they are? What did you do?
Right. It reminds me of that episode of South Park where they have the bit with Border Patrol and the immigrants here start to realize, hey, everything sucks here. Let's go back to Mexico, right? And so the Mexicans go back to Mexico. And then Border Patrol's new assignment is to keep the immigrants from crossing the fence into Mexico because we need them to stay here and work. Because once they all decide to leave, all of a sudden everything shuts down. So the Border Patrol's like shooting at them to keep them within the fence.
Ultimately, if things don't shut down, what is that going to do to the price of orange juice or whatever?
Oh, God,
You know
everything.
what I mean? So if the person that owns this business has to increase the wages because they have to get their labor in a different way, they're going to try to make up their profits somewhere.
Oh, yeah. Things are going to go up.
What's going to translate into it, people are going to be like, why am I paying $8 for Tropicana orange juice?
Yeah, how come eggs are so expensive? Yeah.
Right. I used to be able to get this for like $4. Granted, that was the sale price, but even not on sale, it wasn't more than $5, and now it's $8. Well, why do you think it's going to be $8?
Right. Yeah, a lot of the immigration stuff is we can just do a better system with the courts and getting immigration taken care of, and a lot of it doesn't need to be dealt with the courts. A lot of it you could just use social workers. I don't know why we need to go through a court system. It's all disgusting shit to me. Maybe one day we can do a clip on watching some of these. Like they'll have kids as young as like 2 and 3 defend themselves without a lawyer in immigration court.
That's insane.
Oh, and the judges are sitting there just shaking their heads because the kid has no idea what a court is, what an attorney is. They have no idea that they're there for a deportation hearing.
Yeah, they don't even know what that all means. They don't know what deportation is.
A lot of times they'll ask the kids, what country are you from? They don't know. They're 3.
I couldn't have answered that when I was 3.
What?
I couldn't have answered that when I was 3.
Yeah.
You know what? When I was 5 years old and in kindergarten, I didn't even know my legal first name. When they told me what it was, I was like, no, you're kidding me, because it's not, Aletheus is not what my family calls me.
Yeah, nobody called you.
Nobody calls me Aletheus. Professionally, and I write as Aletheus, but nobody calls me that.
Right.
So I was a 5-year-old being like, are you kidding me? Yeah. Let alone trying to ask me a bunch of questions about what country I'm from and citizenship. I would have been like,
do you have an attorney? Do you know what an attorney is? Do you know why you're here? Do you know what deportation is?
Yeah, it all would have been a big fat question mark.
No. A lot of these kids, they'll sit there and they'll ask them, do you know what country you want to be deported to? And they'll say I have a red balloon. Because that's how a 3-year-old, yeah. I don't know, but I got a red balloon. Yeah, we can go through that one day. It's pretty horrible. But let's